Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you all. Let me know if you can hear me okay in chat. I got the lint roller now. Every time I do a stream, I'm covered in dog hair. So today I brought the lint roller. How professional am I? Nice to see you all. Hope you're doing good, having a great week. I see VMXEO in chat. VM, salute to you, buddy. Hope you're well. I'll probably be in stream chat, VM. If you have any wisdom you want to impart on today's discussion, feel free to jump in there. You're always welcome. Um, for the rest of you, I hope you're doing well. As always, when we're doing a shipyard episode, we are generally talking about spaceships or stuff semi-related to spaceships. Um, I had an original idea for the episode today, which was going to be a discussion on variance. I've had this discussion with a few people recently, both content creators, non content creators, surrounding the ships in game. Obviously, there's been some discussions on our own Discord surrounding this, and people not pro enough to be on time. You're perfectly on time, John. But there's been a lot of discussion just with people I know about variants. Are there too many? Are there not enough? Are they good? Are they bad for the game? All that kind of stuff. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. I'd love to get all of y'all's opinions on it. We're also going to talk a little bit about the RSI Meteor and maybe start thinking about what we think it might be. It's currently showing in some leaks to be possibly, I wouldn't say leaks, I'd say data mines, because I do think there's a difference between a leak and a data mine. It does seem that there are plenty of hints that the RSI Meteor is going straight to flyable and Alpha 4.2.1. So as you all know, Alpha 4.2 Stormbreaker has just released today, so it's live. It's possible we could jump in game. I don't know. Hey, Starjump Starlet. Starlet, salute to you. Everyone give Starlet and VM a nice 07 if you would. But Alpha 4.2.1 will be the next patch after Stormbreaker. And again, the RSI Meteor looks to be going straight to flyable for that patch. It has kept us kind of busy on the Fleet Viewer side of things so far this year because there's been about a new ship every month, which is very different. See, John says, no, I was talking about you being 35 minutes. Am I late? I thought I updated all my times to be 9:30. Did I not do that? Sorry, John, if I did. I meant to change them all to 9:30. Apologies about that, everyone. If you have been waiting around for a bit, I'm sorry about that. Um, so yeah, it's kind of been a busy year in regards to that. So we do have a little bit of info on the RSI Meteor that we can talk about. Some is pretty confirmed, some is not so confirmed. We don't totally know what the ship looks like, but we have a little bit of imagery to share. But we're going to talk about that and talk a little bit about what we maybe hope the RSI Meteor is, or maybe what we can expect it to be. Before we get into that, obviously, as I do on every stream, we're now only 22 days away from Quantum Vegas 2955. I am starting to solidify my presentation. If you're going there, and going to be there in person, I am going to be doing a presentation all on Starjump Fleet Viewer, how it came together, how it works, how ships get brought into it, what that pipeline looks like, and maybe a few other surprises. If you are going and you see me, I will be wearing a Starjump hat. I just got a new one made. Let me show that off real quick. Actually, I got two. I got two Starjump hats made. I got this one, nice gray with the new logo embroidered on it, and then I got a black one, same thing. I'll probably be wearing the gray one. I kind of dig it, a little different than my usual black hat vibe. So I'll probably be wearing this one. But if you see me with this hat on, grab me. And I probably have some Starjump swag that I can give you working with Angry PC Tech. I'm going to have some stickers. going to have, including logo stickers, but also ship stickers, which is kind of cool. Going to have some little pins, some little Starjump pins. This one my daughter colored on, but there it is, little Starjump pins. And some other fun stuff. So hope to see you all there. It's going to be really, really cool. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, please do. And you know, obviously we're running out of time, especially if you have to travel. But it's going to be just an awesome event. It's the first one too. So how cool is that to say you went to the inaugural event? I mean, look at the cast of people. Sandy Roberts and Sean Tracy's going to be there. That alone is worth going. But we got people like EE Studios, The Poets, Xylo, Galactica, Paul Shelley, Daniel Raymond, Serious Fun, Griffin Gaming, Commander Fran, Nick at Night, all part of the festivities, and there's a whole bunch of other people involved in getting the show together that are not on this page, that are more behind the scenes. Obviously, yours truly will be there doing whatever the hell it is I do. So, but definitely go and check it out. The program is on here too. This needs to be updated. I still need to get with Griff about updating that. But there's some incredible sponsors. If you scroll down here on the main page, you'll see the sponsors that have been lined up. Really amazing group of companies and people. Everyone from Cloud Imperium Games to CLX and Monster Tech to VKB Sim and Thrustmaster, both now sponsors. But then we'll have the usual crowd of amazing sponsors like Atmo Esports and Elgato, Icon City, of course. Starjump is a sponsor. So again, going to be a really cool event. I do hope to see as many of you as possible there. This does kind of lead in. I just put the website down there too, by the way. This just kind of lead into you know, what I hope to do this year is to do the first Starjump Bar Citizen. Or Star Citizen, or sorry, Starjump get together of some type. So that is something I want to do. But before we get to that, got something more important. Should we talk Perseus giveaway? Should we talk the Perseus giveaway? I think we should. I think we should. Okay, let's flip over to it. Momentarily from now on Gleam.io, the RSI Perseus giveaway will officially open, everyone. It's going to officially open. There are multiple ways to enter. If you donated to St. Jude, you will get extra entries, as I have discussed. So that is coming up very, very shortly. So you want to get in on that if you can, okay? Oops, I just sent us back to the wrong screen. Bear with me. Okay. Whoops. I lost my channel. There we go. So this is going live in 44 seconds. 44 seconds. This will be live, and I will post the link down here in chat, and I think it'll also come up in my timers. And allow you to enter it if you want. There are multiple ways to enter, from following on Twitch to following on YouTube to visiting Starjump Fleet Viewer. Don't worry. If you are already followed on any of those, it will count you. You don't have to unfollow and refollow. Okay, it'll automatically count you. So 10 seconds till entry. I said we would do this to celebrate $20,000 raised via St. Jude, which you've all done an incredibly amazing job helping me get there. It was an awesome St. Jude push through April and May. I know Ender appreciated it as well. So there we go. It is now officially live. I'm going to pop this down in chat for you all. There you go. So the Perseus giveaway is live. I'm actually going to go to my page real quick because I do need to switch something out. While I'm doing this, how has everyone's week been? How's everybody's week been? I got to grab a link here, and I'm going to put this link into the giveaway page. Bingo says, can we race tonight? We could probably race tonight. Should we get a race going later? We probably should, shouldn't we? We probably should. Okay, just let me update this post here. Okay, update competition. Okay, that should be updating now. All right, everyone. And then let me just add one more thing here. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me. Really appreciate you all. Where is my $20,000 thing? Okay, there it is. Okay, cool. I think that's working. Stand by, everybody. I'm missing something, everybody. I know this seems like a bit like a mess, and it is. Of course, this is what happens when you have a giveaway go live on stream. Where is that Perseus image? Oh, God. Of course, it's nowhere to be found. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. Thank you for the follow, everyone. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciate it. Oh, here it is. Here's that image I was looking for. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and slap that on there. Okay, cool. All right, up that post. Okay, I think we're good now, everybody. Again, if you have already followed on Twitch or YouTube or anything like that, you don't have to unfollow and refollow or anything like that. It'll automatically count you. Okay, you do just have to go to the page, but I think it automatically counts you. Okay, so you should be good. Let's see here. Bone Salesman says Graz for affiliate anniversary. Is it my affiliate anniversary? I didn't even know it was. Is it? How is it? I don't even know. I don't know if it's my affiliate anniversary. How do I even tell that? How do you all know that? I need to know. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know how to tell. Anyway, so yeah, we have Quantum Vegas. We have the Perseus giveaway live. Again, several ways to enter that. You will notice two Twitch entries there. One is to follow my Twitch channel. The other is to follow Ender's Twitch channel. That's kind of a limited thing that Ender's on there because I have to pay more money to have two Twitch follow things on there. So what I thought about doing was I'm going to leave Ender's up for a minute or for a few days, and then I'll take that one off, and I may put like VMXEOs up or something like that, and just kind of spread the love a little bit back that way. And then I think once I do that, then I can put Ender's back up. So I have to cycle that second entry option there. But suffice it to say, when you're entering, there'll always be those 6, I think, options to get in. So the way Gleam operates with their pay thing is really bizarro. So. Again, thank you for the follows, everyone. Really appreciate that. All right, so Javelin might go overhead quite a bit, and that's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. What are we talking about first? What do you all want to talk about first? Variance or the RSI Meteor? I guess we should talk about the Meteor first, right? Probably the Meteor first. Let me go ahead and bring up some images related to that here. And what information we do have, which is not a lot, but it's something, and we might can. Thank you for the anniversary appreciation. I do appreciate that. Is Gleam expensive? No, there's a free. It can be free, but there's a if you want to be able to duplicate entry options. So if you want to have follow me on Twitch, but you want to have multiple Twitch accounts for the person to follow on, they limit it to one unless you pay. And then you have to pay more and more money to open it up wider and wider. They do have a little grace period thing, and I don't know if this is for everyone or if because I complained about my last giveaway, but they have this sort of grace period thing where you can where I complained and they gave me a week of having 2 entry duplicates up. But if you've ever used Gleam or any of those sort of giveaway services, it's a tiered payment thing. So, but no, not super expensive, but it's not cheap either. You know what I mean? It's a monthly fee. It's a monthly fee. All right, let's take a look at the RSI Meteor, shall we? Now, we're going to switch over here. This is a data mine, so I don't look at this necessarily as a as a leak per se when I'll go ahead and give you, and no, this is not the ship, by the way. This is simply the front canopy and then the internal shell piece here. We're not seeing the exterior of the ship here, right? We're not seeing the exterior of the ship. Make that clear. So I don't consider these leaks when it's in the game files and CIG pushes the game files out. I don't consider it a leak. CIG knows it's gonna be data mined when they put it in the game files. Even if it's a mistake, I look at it as being out there in the world. Again, all I've ever been told by CIG is don't show off squadron stuff. So I respect that. But again, I don't necessarily look at this as a leak. So RSI Meteor, from what we know, or from what we've learned so far about it, supposedly, and I would give this a little bit of a grain of salt, supposedly it is a 3-person ship, and it'll be straight to flyable, no particular role assigned to it, and no size laid out for it. I'm still a little cautious that it's a 3-person ship. I think it could easily be a solo ship. I from what I've seen, there's nothing to indicate a 3-person ship. But this exterior here, I don't know. I don't have the geometry yet, but I'm not sure how close this front canopy matches the Mantis. But it kind of looks a little bit Mantis-y. This is a bed right here, this little kick out. You can see this little black box here. This is a bed. So honestly, if there's more exterior, which it doesn't look like, to me this looks like a solo ship. Bed here, I think this is a bathroom, and a little bit of a habitation area, a little bit of area for cargo, and a camp area. You know what this looks like to me, and I'm going to go another shot over here. Here's the interior. Okay, from the canopy area looking backwards, we have an elevator right here, and you'll see that elevator in more detail in a minute. We have the single habitation room right here. We have components on the left-hand side. I'm not sure what this back room is. I'm starting to think this is an egress or an exit point. And then this one over here is a bathroom. I do know this is an elevator, so maybe the elevator is the exit. And then we do have one rendered image right here. You can see that same interior. Our bed, restroom. You can actually see it says restroom right here. This one says component. And I don't know what this is back here. Kind of interesting rear end. And then there's obviously another room back here, something small. We can see the elevator here. You can see these 2 arms going up. This is what raises and lowers the elevator. We have another component in the floor. So I don't think this is a 3-person ship. I think it's a solo ship. But if you were to ask me what this is kind of an advanced starter. I think Rocket Man there on YouTube, you've kind of nailed it. I think it's an advanced starter. I think this is, think of this as the step up from the Aurora. John Shaves, you nailed it. I think it's RSI's Nomad. That's what I think this is. Obviously not as cargo focused as the Nomad, because that elevator would obviously severely limit the size of cargo you can bring up, right? But you know, I think a sort of starter plus general purpose ship, flying around, picking up some cargo, doing a little this, doing a little that. I love this interior shot. I think it's pretty exciting. I guess my one concern is here, we're not seeing the forward room. And if I go back to this, what we're looking is the camera standing more right here, looking back this way, back into this rear, because here's our bed, here's that restroom. So we're not seeing this room, which I would have to guess has kitchen, additional components, stuff like that. That's at least what I think this room would have. And then our rather large bridge canopy area. So we're not seeing the full interior, but I have to say it seems a little empty in this rear area for just being if you look at the size of the elevator, you're obviously going to be pretty limited in the size of boxes you can bring up in that elevator. That looks to me more like just like an ingress and egress elevator to get onto the ship. So I'll be honest with you, I don't know how useful that is going to be for a cargo ship. Maybe this is not a cargo variant at all. Maybe this is more of an exploration variant. Maybe there are variants of this ship. We don't know. Right now, the only thing listed is RSI Meteor. If there are not variants for it, it really seems like a lot of space for just kind of openness, a bed. Um, like, I guess I'm a little surprised that there's not like some built-in tables or something in here to just feel a little bit more lived in. It almost looks like an area where you store cargo. I'm just not exactly sure how you get the cargo in. Again, because this elevator looks rather small when you compare it to the size of the bed. Um, oops, let me go back. Sorry. Um, Again, component here in this floor, elevator here, bed, restroom, something back there. We don't know what it is yet. And that is one of the bigger rooms. If you look here, that is the main area. This area here is smaller. And it's got a bed, so you would expect it to have some sort of minimal amount of kitchen, maybe a small place to put some weapons, something like that. It just doesn't seem like a lot of interior to play around with there. So if I had to guess, to me, you know what this is actually more competing with to me? This is more competing with the Intrepid. This is like RSI's version of the Intrepid to me. Um, Zero, salute to you. Hope you're well. But let me hand it over to you, chat. What do you think? What do you think the meteor is? I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think the meteor is. I don't think any of us can have wrong guesses at this point. I think it's pretty open on what this is. What I would like it to be is I would here's the thing. I would love it to be a slight step up from the Aurora. The Aurora really is a bare bones ship, in my opinion. It's not much more useful to me than a freaking Dragonfly or something. I know a lot of people like the Auroras. I do think they're cool, but they're like the bare bones entry level of a ship. I think this could play in that space that exists between the Aurora and the Zeus, right? For RSI, let's just talk about RSI for a minute. So I think it could exist somewhere between Aurora and Zeus. I think there's plenty of room to play there. The Aurora is, I forget how long the Aurora is or how big it is, but then the Zeus is a pretty long ship. I think at like 46 meters long. Chat, correct me. So there's a lot of room to play with there. The big question, and someone said it in chat. I'm sorry if I missed it. One of you said Jared said that it punches above its weight. I guess that would be my big kind of question with this one is why is Jared so excited about it if it's just sort of a starter plus ship, sort of a mini Zeus? Um, like, where does that excitement come from? We haven't seen the exterior of the ship yet, so it may look just freaking awesome, right? That is definitely a good enough a reason than anything to like a ship for sure. Um, it could just look really cool. It could be a really exciting ship from a design standpoint. Um, there may be something about this ship that we're just not seeing yet, right? Um, Jableza, hopefully I'm saying that right, says Jared loves the Mantis and wanted to do it more. Core Space says Jared helped a lot in the design of it. So was that said? I thought I remember Jared saying something about that, but I couldn't 100% confirm it unless I'm just not remembering where I heard that. It's from the Con 42 interview. Okay. Um, so I guess the interesting thing for me is if this is a ship, let's just say for conversation's sake, let's say this is kind of a ship that sits in between the Aurora series and the Zeus series, right? It sits in between there. It's made to compete with the Intrepid, the Nomad. So kind of those starter ships are maybe like a step above the base starters. Um, why would that get him so excited? Is it just because it borrows heavily from the Mantis from the exterior point of view, which again we haven't seen yet? It's possible. VG says, question: doesn't Meteor look unfocused? Could it open up a variation of customization like we saw in the 300 series? Only this may be done entirely in game. I mean, it would really be cool to see that, VG. I mean, I would love to see that come back. My only issue with that, and Chad, I'm not sure how you feel about that, but my only issue with that type of customization is I don't want CIG to piecemeal this stuff anymore. If they're going to give us that level of customization, then I want it to come out for all ships. Or if not all ships, then all ships of the same caliber. So let's say if you're going to bring out 300 series level customization to ships, then I think all ships in that size category then should get that feature. Not because for it to be fair or anything, but I do get a little bit concerned about new players coming into the game being very confused about what comes with what ships and what cool features come with what ships. If it starts to delineate where some ships you don't have that level of customability, some you do, I do worry about a future where you're just adding so much confusion to the player base. But I do like that idea, VG, because if you look at this interior, to me, it does look a little plain.
Mhm.
Which, hey, Andrew, how's it going, man?
What's up, dude? How
How
you
are
doing,
you?
man?
I heard a throat clear pop in pop in when you chimed in. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. Just wanted to check in, see how you're doing.
Doing good, doing good. I just started the Perseus giveaway.
Oh,
One of the
yeah.
ways to enter is following on Twitch. Your Twitch is on there as a follow option for entry.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you may see some follows, by the way.
Oh, boy. Thanks for the follows, everyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
More personal pro, you snacking over here.
No, it took a little bit of medicine. Took a little bit of medicine. Yeah, we're just talking about the. I didn't think you'd be on. I know you're dealing with shit, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no.
um,
I saw you streaming, wanted to pop in and just say hello. I'm sick. I got a summer cold.
well, god dang, dude. Ender is sick,
That's
everybody. Give Ender an '07. Yeah, Ender, I'll pop just so everyone so you have it as well. The let me grab the link. I'm gonna pin it, pop it down in chat again for everyone anyway. But there it is, everybody, the Gleam thing. Again, when you go there and you register, you will be given I think it's 6 ways to enter.
awesome.
Just to be clear again, everyone, if you've already followed me or Ender or our subscriber on the YouTube, you don't have to unfollow and refollow. Gleam will detect that you have already followed. Just click on the follow on Twitch. It'll take you to the Twitch page. See that you're already followed, and you're good. You don't have to follow, unfollow, do all that crap. Okay. Um, so yes, that giveaway, by the way, I didn't say this earlier, will end on July 29th. So a little over a month. I wanted to let this one run for a while and all that good
Percolate.
stuff. I got some traveling going on in July. So we'll do it at the end of July. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And that is again to thank everybody for us hitting the $20,000 mark for St. Jude. Obviously, we went past
Holy
that.
cow.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and wanted to
Pretty
do something
sweet.
cool. And please remember, everyone in chat, if you donated to St. Jude, literally when Ender closed St. Jude for this year, I downloaded the Excel doc that has all the donators and how much they donated. I have all that information. If you donated towards St. Jude, for every $10 you donated, you're getting an extra entry in this Gleam thing. I will manually add those. I have to add it via CSV, but I will manually add those. So if you already donated, you're good. Those will be counted when the drawing's done. And for those of you that weren't able to donate for St. Jude, which is totally okay, again, there's like 6 or 7 ways to enter here for completely for free. So there you go. Ender, you need to go rest, buddy. You need to go watch some Aliens or The Thing. Tune
Oh, that's
stuff
a good
out.
call.
Tune stuff out.
Romulus. I think we're gonna watch Romulus
I
again.
think I
That is
think
a
you need to
good
watch
one.
Romulus. I've already heard that they're possibly making a Romulus sequel. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and
Oh
I have not seen
boy.
Romulus yet. So Bingo,
What? It's
Bingo's
on
saying,
Hulu,
yeah,
dude.
I know. Bingo's saying whiskey, saying you need to
Whiskey
drink a little whiskey.
Ender.
Um,
I haven't drank in 3 or 4 weeks.
that's good. That's really
Yeah,
good.
I'm walking a lot, haven't drank,
Yeah.
losing weight. Um,
You know
I'm
what?
getting close to
You
down
did
below.
inspire me a little bit, buddy. I have started walking again. Went today, went
Oh
yesterday.
yeah.
Um, But yeah, you need to get yourself some rest. Everyone in chat, give Ender a big old salute. Obviously, if you haven't followed Ender yet, you should. There's his Twitch channel. Maybe a little while before he's doing anything. He's got a lot of shit going on. Bear with him.
Got a lot going on, guys.
Um,
Give me
yeah.
just a little while to
As a
get
matter of fact,
stuff
I'll
like
say
that.
in general, just so everyone knows, July will be a little bit of a slow month for Starjump in general. I'm
Yeah.
going on a long cruise, like a 7-day cruise. I've got some other stuff planned. You'll still see us around. Join the Discord. We chat in there, but July will be a little bit of a slow month. But as we all know, July and August are very slow months in Star Citizen anyway, so no one's missing anything. Go play some Dune Awakening or whatever it is that you want to play. So, yeah, get yourself some rest, buddy. Get yourself some rest. Or you can also hang in chat for as long
All
as
right,
you want.
brother.
All right, man. Go get some rest. If you see some follows popping in on your channel, that's the reason. I just wanted to
Thank you,
let you know.
everybody.
All right, buddy.
All right. I appreciate you, buddy.
All right,
Y'all have
man.
a good one.
All good, buddy. So everyone, RSI Meteor. It's a tricky one. What do you think the role for this ship should be? Now something I will go ahead and say is I don't think the role is going to be anything that requires a new feature. I don't think it's going to be anything that requires a new feature. So I think I was talking to Tristpone earlier in Discord, and he suggested maybe that it would bring on, what was it, hacking gameplay. He was just speculating, by the way. He wasn't suggesting. By the way, thank you everybody for the affiliate anniversaries. I really appreciate that. Salute to you. Thank you very much. But I think he was suggesting maybe it can bring on some new gameplay. I don't think it's going to bring any new gameplay. I don't think CIG is doing that. So this is going to tap into existing gameplay like most of the variants have already done. Mr. Will says, no disrespect, but if it's data mined, it's a leak. If you want to look at it that way, Will, that is totally fine. Obviously, you are welcome to that opinion. I respect your opinion. Obviously, I've had discussions with community people at CIG before. I was told data mines are okay. They don't consider those leaks, and that they know if it's in the game files that people are going to find it. What I was specifically told is that Squadron 42 leaks are the one and only big time no. They do not appreciate it. They don't want it. And Starjump has always been good about respecting that. The only time CIG sort of pulled me aside for a hot minute was when we launched Fleet Viewer. They were a little concerned about the retribution being in Fleet Viewer. And it was only that ship, apparently. They were a little concerned about that, and they ended up letting us keep the retribution in Fleet Viewer, and said they really appreciated all the hard work that went into the app, and were excited about it. So yeah, Mr. Will, definitely. I don't take it as any disrespect. I appreciate you watching tonight and being part of the discussion. No opinions, even if they're different than mine, are looked down upon. I respect everyone's opinions. So, Rooster 101 says, pretty sure CIG said it was a heavy fighter. I don't remember them saying what the Meteor was, but maybe, I guess it could be, right? It doesn't look like a heavy fighter, but we're not seeing enough to know what it is, I guess. But I see probably combat, heavy fighter. Looks like another person says heavy fighter. Jabliza says luxury starter, sort of like a baby phoenix. That'd be kind of interesting. What else do we have here? Another mantis base heavy fighter. R class says interior looks like a carbon copy of the mantis. Okay, so this is something I was going to ask. I haven't seen in a while because here's the funny thing. I don't love the mantis. So people are probably gonna hate me for that. I don't love the mantis personally. Um, so let's see here. Let me pull this back. Hold on 1 minute, people. I'm pulling up a page. Let's see here. Where are the images here? Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So looking at this, here's the mantis page. So here is that interior shot. Oh, is that just the same image? It is. Oh, someone just grabbed that image of the mantis to show off that interior model. Oh, okay, you are right. Who said that in chat? R-Classed on Twitch says interior looks like a carbon copy of the mantis. You're exactly right, because it is literally the mantis interior. So you're 100%. This is the mantis interior, and this is the interior of the Meteor. So yes, it is a damn near a carbon copy, isn't it? You're exactly right. Yeah. This is actually, sorry, let me get my windows up here. Yeah, so what we're looking at here is pretty much a carbon copy of that image. This one here, right? We're looking at the same thing here. We have the component bay, single bed. So if the mantis does what it does, and see, yeah, Zero, I fully agree. I've always thought the mantis was a cool ship, but way too much wasted space. I've always thought that. So knowing that this directly is a mantis variant, I think we're all pretty clear on that now. If this is a mantis variant, because it's the exact same interior, what would the mantis do? See, here's the thing. Here's the thing that's tricky about this is the mantis to me. I know a lot of people love it. I do know a lot of people love the mantis. To me, though, the mantis feels a little bit like antiquated now in terms of the interior design for RSI. Um, the the Zeus is definitely the new standards for RSI civilian ships, and I sincerely hope this borrows heavily from the Zeus in terms of its textures and stuff, and maybe the Mantis gets updated a little bit as well. I've always thought the Mantis was a little empty and cold inside, to be quite honest with you. But you know what? This leads us to our primary discussion tonight, everybody, and that is, are there too many variants? Are there too many variants, right? What was it? Um, and it's a tricky question because I don't even think there's full agreement in what a variant is. I was just having a discussion with again Trispone earlier this week about the Asgard. Is it a variant? Is it not a variant? But looking at the different variants, I've heard more and more this year. Are there too many, variants coming out? But when you go back and look at at all the old, let me go back to it here. If you go back and look at all the ships from the past, 300 series, 100 series, the Auroras, right? There was a lot of variants then too. The constellations, right? I do know some of these so-called variants were originally supposed to be a little bit more modular, but they're from a skew standpoint, they're variants at this point, right? So the question is, are there too many variants? So let's discuss that a little bit. Christian says F7 is way too many variants. Guess it has so many because it was originally made by CRM himself. So your discussion about the F7 is a good one, and that's the one I want to focus on here. So there's a couple of type of variants, right? And actually, let me switch over. So for me, one level of variant is something like the Talon. Okay, we're going to bring the Talon up real quick. Okay, so I'm going to put the Talon and Talon Shrike up here as two ships, and then I'm going to choose another type of variant, something like the C8 series. Okay, so the C8, the C8R, and the C8X. Okay, so let's put these up here. Okay, here's another type of variant, right? And then I think this here you could include like the 100 series, the the F7s, the A1C1 E1s, the all that could kind of go into this category, right? As a matter of fact, we'll bring those up. We'll bring up the spirits real quick because I think they're a good sort of add on to this discussion here. Okay, so we have that variant. Another type of variant, though, is something more like the Valkyrie Asgard discussion, right? Where it's not necessarily a variant anymore, but let's be honest, it's heavily, heavily based off that ship hull, right? So, and again, we could go on and on with this. There's other variants as well, but to me, there's something interesting going on here, right? So the first one is, let's talk about the Talon and the Talon Strike. So for me personally, when I'm thinking about variants that I don't like, right? The Talon series is a good example of variants I don't like and I don't want to see in Star Citizen. The reason is I don't like when variants are John Chase said Starfarer or Starfarer Gemini. That's actually another good one. You know, we're going to add that real quick because that kind of goes into this discussion a little bit. Okay, let's take the Starfarer and I'm going to actually put it over here with this. To me, I don't like these type of variants. So okay, so we're going to put the Starfarer and we're going to put these Talons. I don't like these type of variants because the role of the ship has not changed. But the only thing that's really changed are things like armament. So in the case of the Talon, it goes from being more of it's got guns on it now to it's like more of a missile boat. I would prefer to see that stuff more as modular weapon hardpoint switch outs. And I feel like you should be able to do that in the VMA, the vehicle manager. I feel like, and the same thing with the Starfarer Gemini, I feel like you should be able to have a Starfarer and those little add-ons like the missile pod. What else does the Gemini have? Upgraded armor, right? I think it has upgraded armor. Let me know, Chad, if I'm wrong on that. But those sort of things, I feel like you should be able to do in the. Does it have extra turrets? No, it doesn't. Does it? I didn't think it did. Either way, those type of variants to me are inconsequential to the ship's main and primary role. So, and for me, these type of variants create confusion, especially amongst like new players. Remember, not a lot of players are going to be like all of you in chat or me, where they deep dive all these ships in detail and they fully understand what they do and all that stuff. Deep Runner says military components, another weird one because right now we can put military grade components in these ships. Correct? You can put military grade components in the base Starfarer, or has that changed? Right? So to me, these variants do not have enough gap in between the intended role to make it worthwhile. Coria says Starfare against missiles. Yeah, the Gemini has the missile pod on the front, right? My issue with that, and there's the missile pod right there. Oops, right here. You can see it. My issue with that, though, is why can't I just go to a shipyard and get a missile pod installed on the front of this, right? It just seems like such a minor thing that I should be able to do it in the VMA, right? Fraggy, thank you for the follow. By the way, everyone, thank you for the follows tonight. But let's move on to the next type of variant, okay? I want to move these over here because the next type of variant is we're talking about is sort of these, right? And there's a lot of ships you could sit in here, okay? Oh, and yes, you're right. Koi, great example. Great example. Let's bring that up. The Vanguard series. By the way, everyone, VMXEO is in chat. Everyone give him a little salute. He recently, well, actually not recently. It just took me forever to get them to Starlet. He updated the Vanguard art. So if you go on the Fleet Viewer, the art for the Vanguard series has all been updated. So it's really nice and polished looking now. I mean, look at that. That looks great, right? Look how awesome that looks. Nice job, VM. So all the Vanguard art is updated. The Vanguard series is another good example. It's a lot of armament hard points. There is functionality difference, I know, with the E-War and stuff like that, but again, that could be module based or component based. I really don't understand. Again, you're a new player coming in the game. You're not going to fully understand all these gameplay loops and how they are different enough for it to make a difference. Easy the Goon, you just nailed another one. I appreciate it because that one is actually in progress right now. The Apollo and Apollo Medevac. Another example of two variants that to me add confusion, and these should be modular things you can switch out on the ship via the VMAs. We've already seen some level of that sort of customization just through the avionics blades, the flight blades. Those small role changes, for example, bed configuration layouts on the Apollo and stuff, that to me should be able to be done in the VMA. So for me, from a money standpoint on what's worth it, right? I do have a hard time recommending to people some of these variants, specifically because I don't like that they force you to choose. Oh, for example, the Talon being a great example, force you to choose whether you want to fly missiles that day or guns that day. To me, it's a weapon hardpoint thing, and I know the missiles are sort of like embedded in the hull, but I still think that's something that should be able to be switched in the VMAs. I'm all for realisticness and keeping things like that, but at the same time, I don't want to say this feels predatory, because I don't think it's predatory, but at the very least, I think it's confusing to the player base, especially to new players, right? Quiet Chaos says, Grim, you were talking about almost all variants. There are only a few that don't fit that mold. Maybe, Quiet. I mean, maybe, and I'm going to continue on here so we can get my other thinking there. So let's go to this next group, right? So the next group being ships like this, right? So the Cutlass series, the C8s here, and the C8s are iffy, and I'll go into that. But the Spirit series, I would definitely put the Cutlass series in this. You know, with the black, blue, red, and steel. Now with these ships, to me, there's a role change, right? A pretty significant role change. You know, with the Spirit series, for example, we have a bomber, we have a general purpose cargo ship, we have a passenger transport ship. The Spirit series is a great example of variants, I think, that have enough changes in them that warrant the whole configuration or that warrant it being a unique SKU, right? Because there's no confusion if you want to buy the bomber version of this ship. You don't have to decide between 3 bombers with slightly different features. Each one of these does something completely different. So that makes sense. Same with the C8, especially the C8R. However, I could see there could be confusion between the C8 and C8X. So this is kind of an edge case. I would actually say the C8 series sort of sits in the middle here on what I think is kind of appropriate for variance. So the C8 and C8X I think can be a little confusing to people, right? Just right, it says spirits could have been modular though. That is true. I mean, all these could technically have been modular. I'm just looking at them now from like a standpoint of, okay, with them in the game as is, which ones would I feel, for example, which ones would I feel okay recommending to someone, right? And same thing with the Cutlass series. They're pretty wildly different roles here, right? One is a general purpose. I call them general purpose ships, by the way, ships that can kind of carry a little bit of cargo, do a little bit of everything. One is essentially a bounty hunting, and what has it got in it? The dampener is the quantum dampener in the Cutlass Blue. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I think it's the dampener, right? Or is it the snare? I can't remember. General purpose, yeah. The Cutlass Red medical ship, again, entirely different role and function. And then the Cutlass Steel, which did recently get some buffs, by the way, to make it a little better. Again, another completely different role. Again, I agree with you. The Cutlass Steel is a bit of a stretch. What they should have done with the steel, to be totally honest with you, is the steel should have like a bunch of like armor plating on the exterior to kind of make it look a little bit beefier. That would have been awesome. I think that would have been a great thing for them to do. They just more went with a texture change, and I don't think that was enough. But you can kind of see where I'm going here, right? I would also put like the Constellation series in this in this group as well. You know what I mean? The Andromeda, the Aquila, the Phoenix, the Taurus all have specific roles that differentiate them amongst the two. You know, versus saying, "Oh, buy the medical Apollo or buy the medical or the combat talent." Well, they both do that. They just do it in slightly different ways, right? All these vanguards are heavy fighters with just slightly different secondary roles, right? I know one's technically a drop. I don't really believe that. Starfare. These are both refueling ships, just with slightly different attributes. Now, the next leap up from that, obviously, is something more like the Asgard and Valkyrie. You could maybe include the Paladin in here. I don't, but you could. You totally could. And these are variants to me that are different enough that CIG thinks they warrant a different name. So another good example of that would be the Fortune and the Prospector, right? Fortune and Prospector. Essentially what's happening here where the ships get a role, a differentiation on role, but also have enough exterior and interior modifications to warrant a new hull. And sometimes that is in the form of the ships actually growing or shrinking a little bit, right? Growing or shrinking a little bit. So I don't know where you all sit. There is no right or wrong answer here, by the way, everyone. I'm just sort of giving my opinion on the different types of variants, right? So Hudson Hawk says, and what's the point to have so many Hornets? Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, on the Hornet side of things, I would put the Hornets, I mean, look how many are in Fleet Viewer. I would definitely put the Hornets in this first category. They're all combat ships with slight differences in focus. And I don't like that. I want to be able to control that via the vehicle manager. If I have an F7A Mark II, I would like through the vehicle manager or through taking the ship to a shipyard, I would prefer to be able to switch it to a Hornet F7A Mark II tracker, right? Or whatever the new variant code would be. And Rocket Man, you're not wrong. He says Hornets reflect the modern Navy fighters and how many variants there are, i.e., F-18s. And I completely agree with you there. One caveat being that um, the F-18s, F-16s, F-15s, they do lean into a little bit of that multi-role fighter capability where the armament can be switched out pretty heavily. For example, on some platforms, you can go heavy on bombs, light on missiles, or you can switch it out to where you're heavy on missiles, where those are air to air, air to ground, whatever, and do not take bombs. Some of those, some of those platforms can take on every extra fuel tanks in addition to bombs for long duration flights or something. So there's a little bit of a difference there between role and armament, right? So the role thing would be maybe the difference between an F-18 and a Super Hornet and an F-18 Growler, right? Where there's a little bit of a different role there. And then the other difference is something like the Talon, where it's really the same damn ship, it's just an armament difference. Those, I think, should be more in the multi-role category where it's a weapon hardpoint switch out, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So on the F7 front, I think those would sort of sit in the middle a little bit like the C8s, where some of them I think could be combined into the same ship that you can switch out some of its armament and some of its role capabilities in the vehicle manager. EA-18 versus F18, if I can talk here. Yes, thank you. But still based off the same platform, ultimately, right? Same airframe, based off the same airframe. Giant caveat, I know the airframes have evolved to different blocks, and some of those are more advanced than others. Just so everyone knows, both my parents have worked in aerospace for 50 years at this point. Worked for the aerospace in military capacity, civilian capacity. So aircraft is something I'm very familiar with. And I know there's a lot of edge cases there too. And when, and as some of these aircraft have been out for a long time now, stuff like the F-18, F-15, F-16, well, not so much F-16, but to some degree, they have started to have certain variants diverge farther and farther away as their roles have gotten more and more specific, right? Wastelander says a lot of F-16 differences is blocks like gears and avionics system differences mostly. Right, so essentially like upgrades and stuff like that. Quiet Chaos says, so would you prefer the Idris level of modularity then? That makes sense. Well, I guess what I would say is, you remember how CIG really kind of kept saying, and I think it was in the ISC or whatever, they said how there is no Idris K. There's just the Idris P, the Idris Peacekeeper, and then you can buy the kits for it. I would prefer that. I actually would prefer that because while the Idrises were kind of stupid expensive, that torpedo kit I think was like $450. On the Hornets, I think I would prefer it to where you could buy the airframe for whatever that cost is, $100, whatever the cost may be, and then you can buy kits like the tracker kit, the ghost kit, and those are only like $25 or $35 or whatever the cost is. I guarantee you CIG would sell a hell of a lot more, and they make a hell of a lot more money. I guarantee you, because people would be more apt to buy those kits. And then you could switch out that stuff in the vehicle manager. I'd be all about that. Now, there's going to be a group of people that think that level of granularity is predatory. I don't think it is. I think it's just gives you options. The funny thing is that I think CIG, with the reaction to the bomb racks and stuff, are probably, if they were going to go any direction, would probably go the opposite direction of what I'm suggesting, because I think people, anytime you can buy any sort of weapon or any sort of damage multiplier for ships or performance multiplier, people look at that as pay to win. I do not look at it that way. I've made myself pretty clear on that. While the blades and the bomb racks were a little not the best thing for them to do. They should have put them in the stores day one, although they are in the stores as of today, by the way, the in-game shops. But while that wasn't the best thing for them to do, I definitely didn't look at it as pay to win. I didn't look at it as any more pay to win than someone being able to buy an Idris for $1,900 and as a pilot control all 4 size 12 torpedoes and fire them at once. That doesn't even require a weapon systems officer. They can just, you know, they can just buy the ship and blow shit up. So again, I think the pay to win thing will come up as we get closer to 1.0 and be more important. I personally don't think it's important right now. I know there's a lot of content creators out there that when the computer blade thing came out, they were like, "This is the death of the game. It's over. Get out while you can." I said it then. I'll say it now. I thought it was ridiculous. It was completely ridiculous. How you could think that this minute computer blade ruins the game for you, but yet someone can spend $1,600, $1,900 on a capital ship where the pilot can control a size 10 laser beam or the pilot can control 4 size 12 torpedoes all at once when you can't even do that on the Polaris? I'm shocked that the Idris was not the pay to win ship. But again, everyone has different opinions on this stuff. Hebford says some people are saying the blades only do upgrade, but it's a swap, right? It is. The blades are a trade-off. So they may make you go faster in a straight line, but you're going to lose maneuverability. Or you can put the blade in that makes you have higher maneuverability but lowers your straight line speed. So it wasn't even so to me it wasn't even a total bonus across the board anyway. So I guess this is what I would ask from you all in chat. What would you prefer to see moving forward with Star Citizen? Because this year, right? So this year already, we've received, what have we received? Let me go to this. We've received the Fortune. We know that. That was kind of a variant. We've received the Asgard, right? That was kind of a variant. We received the Prowler Utility, which, by the way, the Prowler Utility is in Fleet Viewer now, which is a variant of the Prowler. Oh, looks like our... Oops, Prowler Utility is the wrong size. I will fix that. I will fix it. This one's probably just a little big. Yeah, okay. I got to get the regular Prowler down in size. It's too big, everybody. Too big. But Prowler Utility, we know we're getting the okay, it's the same size on the top down. Okay, so that's good. We know we're getting this Mantis variant, right? Giblisi, yeah. So what I was asking is, what do you all think? Do you all think these variants are good? Do you think that's a positive thing? Starlight, yeah. So the ISO Prowler, I think, is too big. Let me go back to here and I'll zoom in. I think the Prowler Utility is actually more correct. So it's 34 meters versus the 36. And if I put it up next to the Cutlass Red, that feels about right. This one, though, is bigger than the Cutlass Red, and it's supposed to be smaller. So I think we need to size down our Prowler, base Prowler ISO. We just need to size it down, I don't know, maybe 5% or so. We just need to have it match or get close to the Prowler Utility. As close as we can. Remember, ISO is not ISO's to scale, but it's not perfectly to scale. Yeah, it looks like just the ISO. Let me check. The top was good. Profile's good. Front is can be hit or miss sometimes just because we don't. So on the front it looks like, actually everyone's seeing a little bit of. Okay, so on the front, the Prowler base needs to be scaled up a decent amount, probably by 20%, 25%. Thank you, Starlet. Everyone gives Starlet a salute. By the way, this is what it takes. By the way, to do Fleet Viewer, it is a lot of times. I can't tell you how many times me and Starlet have looked at ships by hand, and gone through them. Um, yeah, Starlet will tell you we've gone through some of these ships ship by ship, checking all the angles and all the sizes. It is not easy. It's a lot of work. But we're seeing other variants as well, right? We're going to get the Apollos. We are getting. Let me bring this up real quick. Enderfan says, well, Easy the Goon. Let's go to chat here. Easy Goon says, I like more of Category 2 variants. Variants built for a purpose. My biggest complaint is the rate of variants being put into the game. Comes across to me as monetizing work they've already done. Well, I think two things can be right there, Easy Goon. I think they are monetizing work they've already done, but I also think it's they're doing it out of necessity. We'll talk more about that. So I think two things can be right there. Enderfan says it's a case by case thing. I think the Vanguards are fine because they are relatively different in their roles once they are all implemented. The roles implemented, of course. Generally, I'd prefer the Spirit approach. Yeah. So we're getting the CSV FM. We already have the CSV SM in game, the supply module variant. We're going to get the fabrication module variant. We know that's coming. We already saw that there's yet another ballista style variant coming. We don't know the role of it. We had the Hornet variants. Don't forget, we got the medical terrapin. That was one that's delivered. We'd have multiple Guardian variants. By the way, that's another great example, actually. Let me bring up the Guardian. Guardian is, to me, a lot like the C8 series, where you had one ship that was truly different, right? You had one ship that was truly different and stood out. And then you had two that a new player, again, think about it from a new player standpoint, where a new player would have a hard time figuring out why they're choosing one over the other. Same thing with the Guardians, right? Let me zoom down. The Guardian was kind of funny. The Guardian base was fine when it came out, and then you had the Guardian Kai, I don't know however that's said. And then suddenly the Guardian MX came out. And to me, in chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know VMXEO, you might be still watching. VM is the owner of the Guardian MX. It just right away seemed like the Guardian MX was the super Guardian. I mean, does anyone own a Guardian and a Guardian MX? Do you own both variants? I'd love to know if someone owns both variants and what the reason for owning both would be. The MX is awesome. If I was to own one, it would be the MX for sure, for sure. But I'm just curious if any of you own both variants. Eric Class says he does not own the base but loves the MX. Is there anyone that owns both the Guardian and Guardian MX? And again, just what Robert's asking here, why would you own them? If anything, let's move the Guardian Kai down. In the future of Star Citizen, let me posit something to you, right? In the future of Star Citizen, it would actually make sense if you had a Guardian base and through crafting upgraded it and kept upgrading it to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. It would make sense that when you get to tier 5, it was more the Guardian MX. You know what I mean? So when you saw someone's ship, you could tell, oh, they've upgraded that thing a lot. That would make sense, but that's not what we have in Star Citizen. That's not the direction they're going with it. And that's not to criticize the direction they're going with it. It's just an observation that I think a lot of games, this would be like the base version, and this would be the upgraded version that you would do in game. What do you all think about that? Because I do think that's sort of how you would see it in almost any other game. Radium TX says owning all three equals spending. Yeah. Well, people buy what they love, right? Well, and Ender makes a good point here. In the future, size 5s will make all the difference when it comes to armor, right? And then one of them has a bed, one doesn't. So again, you're looking at those little trade-offs, right? My concern is, okay, for that new player coming into the game, that brand new player, they don't know anything about Star Citizen, but they want to kind of jump in with both feet and buy a Guardian just because they saw it on the website, they thought it looks cool. Because of some of the stuff you mentioned there, you have to know even more about the game than you already do. So, for example, if one has a bed and one doesn't, they need to understand why a bed's important. Is a bed important? Right? If size 5s are going to make all the difference in armor on bigger ships versus size 4s, does that new player then need to know the backlog of discussions that have happened over the years with CIG in terms of where they've made weapons most effective? It's not that they can't, it just requires a lot more effort on the buyer to learn and understand that stuff, right? And that's just going to be hard to do for new players. That's why I think it's Enderfan says not everything should be tailored to new players. I totally agree. What I was going to say next, which kind of ties into what you're saying there, is that's why it's critical for starter packs. So those starter ships, that's why it's critical for those to be so well rounded, right? That's important because that's going to be a new player, and we do need to think about this from a new player standpoint, everyone. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that play Star Citizen, but not enough for it to be a successful MMO. We need more people. Starlet, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Salute to you. Right? So it's the starter ships really do need to be well rounded because that's going to be a lot of new players' first impressions coming into the game, and they don't want to have that feeling of I made a bad decision. The starter ship should always feel like a pretty damn good decision, right? Because again, it's their first impression, it's their onboarding into Star Citizen. You don't want them to spend $45, $65, $95 on a starter ship or starter plus ship and feel like they got something that, oh, I bought the Guardian and I should have just got the Guardian MX. It's clearly the better ship here. You know what I mean? Hey, XQ, hope you're well. It's one of those things that I do think a lot about when it comes to when this game hits 1.0. I do think about that. Actually, it'll be interesting to see if a lot of the pledge store functionality persists through 1.0. What do I mean by that? I mean being able to melt ships, CCU, all that. And maybe some of you old timers can fill me in. Is that supposed to persist through Star Citizen 1.0? Was that always the intention to keep that website functionality or that store functionality? I hope so. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that every sorry, execute. And again, do not get me wrong. I do not think that everything needs to be tailored to the new player experience. But I just mean that, like, the ships that players are going to come into the game with, those starter ships, those even the starter pluses, like the Cutlass, the Zeus, those need to feel like very well-rounded, well-balanced ships, right? Especially the ones that CIG package into game packages. So pretty much anything CIG packages into a game, or any ship that CIG packages into a game package, I think should be very well rounded, very balanced, and feel like a good purchase, even when you upgrade. So let's say you buy the Nomad starter pack, right? Even when you upgrade to your ship above the Nomad in game, let's say you earn in game a Zeus or a Spirit or something, you should still look back at your Nomad and feel like that was a good purchase, and you want to keep it in your hangar. It shouldn't feel like a piece of crap now just because you upgraded. And that's what I feel is the issue with the Guardian, right? Is that if you bought a base Guardian, you're going to kind of feel a little miffed out on the Guardian MX. I know a lot of people felt that way with the Asgard versus the Valkyrie. I don't feel that way here because I do feel like these are two different ships. If you bought the Valkyrie, I think CIG wanted you to buy it because it's a drop ship. If you bought the Asgard, they want you to buy it because it's a sort of vehicle general purpose drop ship. But I do know a lot of people were a little miffed about it, right? I have the again same issue I have going back over here to the Talon series, which is again I've always complained about the Talons. I think they're one of the worst offenders of this, but this is literally a variant based off whatever the current meta is. Are missiles really good right now? Are guns really good right now? Again, what's the best? And you're buying a ship based off whatever is currently kind of the funnest, right? If missiles are in a terrible place, the Shrike is going to feel like a terrible purchase. So again, there's a lot of ways you can sort of look at the variant game here and what variants feel good, what variants feel bad. I'm sure there's a lot of ways to look at this. Some of them are, you know, I don't think anyone's views on this are right or wrong. I'm just sort of giving you my viewpoints on this. Some of these are way more problematic than others. Again, the Guardian I think would go in this midpoint, just like the C8 series up here, and there's some other ones like that too. But these variants where they have a variant that obviously sits off to the side and is interesting, but then they have two variants that just feel really weird next to each other. And one just feels like an upgrade, like a better version. I know Execute and Algrid on Info Runners say pretty frequently the worst always comes first, you know. And if you look at some of these scenarios, they're not necessarily wrong, right? Especially with the Guardian. The Guardian proves that, you know what I mean? The Guardian came out first, and it's kind of the worst of the bunch, for sure, you know. Um, and I think when there are those differences like that don't feel great, CIG should go out of their way to give them enough of a visual difference that while the role might be the same, so take these two Talons again, but I would also include these Apollos. While the role is mostly the same, or is the same, these are both medical ships, these are both combat ships. I think CIG should make visual differences to these, even if it's just some armor plating or just minor changes to the exterior greeble work or something to further delineate the ships into, at the very least, something to where you may go, well, I chose the medevac because, yes, it's a slightly different medical role and I like the look of it. Right now, it's just slightly different interior or armament attributes, and I personally don't think that's enough to warrant a variant. Personally. I don't think we see, well, I was going to say I don't think we see a lot of this anymore, but we do. We actually do. Hebford says, yes, need better differences on the outside like the cutter. Yeah, the cutter is a great example. The cutter is a great example of that. I'll bring up the cutter. I think that's a great example of exactly what we're talking about. And I would put the cutter clearly over here. No, that's not a cutter. What am I doing? I put the cutter clearly over here. I mean, we heard from CIG that the cutter is like the best-selling ship in Star Citizen. I'd be curious if that's still the case. I would think it's still the case, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't think the cutter is the best example of good variants. Execute, if he's still watching, may agree with this. I think Execute has even said this before. But the difference between the cutter and the cutter rambler is too confusing to someone who hasn't like fully deep dived these ships. and understood the differences between them, or understood why you may not want a bed, right? The Cutter Scout makes sense as a variant. The Cutter Rambler does not make sense as a variant. Alex, I love it too. I actually love I love all three cutters. But again, it's a starter ship. It's meant for new players. And for a new player, this is a hard decision. It's not clear on why you would use it. XQ says the best use for the Rambler is the salvage. Yeah, it again, it's just not clear. It's just not clear. Someone says, Sandgroper says, give Beam Ares Ion. Yeah, I mean, we're getting the Beam variant of the Ares. I'm telling you, that is coming. Those of you probably saw when Joran posted in X about variants for beam weapons. I said we need a beam variant of the Ares starfighter, and Ben Curtis replied to that in the positive. So it would not shock me if we get a beam Ares at some point. And yes, I will melt my Inferno for the beam version, whether it's good or bad ship. I don't care. I love the beam weapons. I love the beam weapons. Let's see here. Hedford says about the freelancers, do I believe it has a big difference? The freelancer series. No. I would actually probably put the freelancer a little bit more in this first category of ships that I don't love the variants for. So let's go. So we have the base freelancer, right? So let's grab it. We have the base freelancer. We have the DUR, which has the fuel scoops, the extra long range distance because the fuel capacity and stuff. It's fine. But even that is through like these little fuel canisters that are hooked to the outside of the ship, right? We have the Max, which is a more substantial change, carries a lot more cargo. And then the Miss, which is just an armament change and hardpoint change on the base freelancer. So again, these three, the Miss, the base, and the DUR, I would prefer these be kits we can buy for $20. You can buy the DUR freelancer kit that upgrades your freelancer for long range exploration, or you can earn it in game. You can earn that kit in game. I would prefer that so that you're buying the freelancer base hull and then you can buy kits to upgrade it. The Freelancer Max, I would say that maybe sits outside of that equation simply because it is a major hull change, a pretty significant hull change. And look, you could easily go back to the Cutlass series though and say the same thing, right? As a matter of fact, you probably have to. But you see where it just gets a little weird, is all I'm saying. So really we come down to that question of, is it better to have variants, or would it be better for CIG not to explore modularity? I'm not saying that, but to explore these kits that you can just do via the Vehicle Manager Moby-Glass app. But at the same time, at what point would people say you're monetizing too hard? The funny thing is I think it's actually less predatory monetization, because then you can buy those kits for much less money. It's much less investment, but there's a lot of people out there, they're going to buy a lot more kits than they would ships. So I think CIG would still make more money, personally. XQ says, I think it's time to explore some actual gameplay. Yeah, I haven't jumped in. Are you talking about 4.2? I haven't jumped in yet. I did play it on the PTU, if that's what you're talking about. And it was awesome. I love the ASD facilities. Sandgroper says, question, are kits the new modularity 2.0? I think that remains to be seen. I think, on so far I guess we're only so far seeing them really for the capital ships, right? We've got the Idris kits. We know there's the privateer kit. Yeah, the Kraken privateer is a kit. No, well, I wouldn't even say it's a kit. It's not a kit. The Kraken privateer is a full hull conversion. A full hull conversion. So I think it's labeled. I forget what it's called in the store. Maybe they call it a kit. I don't know, but I don't look at it like a kit. A kit is yeah, Hendel says it right there. The privateer behaves like a CCU. It's like a new ship. It's like a new ship. And once you apply it, I don't think you can unapply it. It's now a privateer. They just gave you an easier way to get to the privateer without buying an entirely new hull if you already own the Kraken. Excuse says, you mean G2A sponsorship? Yeah. Yeah, I know. I remember you saying that, XQ. It's so funny. They did that. Yeah, it's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah. Oh, CIG. Yeah, I just checked it. I just checked it. XQ. That's funny. That is funny. Um, Bingo says if the DUR is $25 more than the base freelancer and CIG charged $30 for the kit, people would actually pay more. Yeah, I still think, yeah. Well, but here's the thing: they would sell a lot more of them. That's the thing. They would sell a lot more of them because there's a lot of people out there that don't go that go. Well, I'm not buying the freelancer and the freelancer DUR, which would be a total of whatever the total price is of both of those ships. But there's a hell of a lot of people out there that would say, I'm going to buy the freelancer and then I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to pick up the DUR kit and maybe the miss kit. You know what I mean? I don't know. Chat, do you all think that feels predatory? Do you think that feels like over monetization? Or do you feel like that's actually better bang for your buck? Here's the thing. I already can tell you that there's content creators out there that would make crazy thumbnails saying the game is dead. They've crossed a red line if CIG did that. But ultimately, I think it would be better for the consumer. Excuse says, Sturgeogram, you do need to look at gameplay concerns too. Yeah, sure. There's gameplay concerns. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm more looking at this though from, and I'm not too concerned about the really expensive variants like the Starland or sorry the Starfare, although I think it's a ridiculous variant and it shouldn't exist. I think the ships I'm more concerned about are the starter ships or the starter plus ships. And the reason I'm more concerned about them again is not from even a gameplay standpoint, but it's more of a new player confusion standpoint. And it's hard to look at the gameplay concerns to some degree because I don't feel like we have a game yet. Like you can kind of get an idea of how the gameplay is hopefully going to work and how that will affect certain ships, but I still feel like I'm speculating on that to some degree. You may as well. Not to say that you can't make some educated guesses for sure. I mean, my fleet is based off my current fleet is based off educated guesses about future gameplay for sure. So you can definitely look at gameplay, but I'm just saying that like even some of that is pretty speculative, which is a little scary. Ender fan says Wastelanders SC says better bang. I agree. Ender fan says I feel like it devalues making a choice. That's a valid concern. Your lordship says, wonder what other kits the Idris could get. Ballistic, laser, torps. Is there anything else? I could see the Idris getting just a big giant E-War package. Maybe there's some sort of chin mount that has a really big sort of radar scanning apparatus that is able to do capital sized, you know, electronic warfare. I mean, who knows? They could really go anywhere with it, but there's tons of possibilities. I would maybe say a mine lane variant. The only thing is, I think it's a little dangerous to put mines out the front of your ship and make sure they don't hit you. um, so yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, by the way, everybody on this, I'm not saying I've figured it out. I definitely haven't. It's just something I do think a lot about lately. I had someone, it's funny we're talking about the cutters. I had someone coming into the game recently and they were asking me for starter ships, and I gave them the usual spiel. I said, "Oh well, the Avenger's a decent starter ship, but it's kind of old. The Cutters are really great. The CAR is a great starter ship, to be quite honest with you, just because of its current function." And I was kind of going down them. I was like, "Oh, if you spend a little bit more money, the Cutlass Black is great. Blah 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 blah." And as I was talking to this person, just sticking with the starter and starter plus ships, I realized how far of a rabbit hole we were going down. And that particular person was like, "Oh wow, there's a lot to this." And I started thinking, I was like, "Oh yeah, there is. There's a lot to this." Um, that again, it goes back to my earlier statement, which is I think those starter packages, the ones that come with the game package, those are the really important ones. And I think with CIG, what they do on those is they do narrow down the variant. So, for example, the Cutter starter pack you don't get a choice. The Cutter starter pack focuses on the base Cutter, which I think is good. I do think that is good. I think CIG made the right decision there, because if there had been starter packages where you could choose the variant, it just would get more and more confusing, right? Um, VG says, question, would Idris Ewar be more a series of high-res sensor blisters around the ship? Am I reading you right, VG? I don't know what it would look like, to be quite honest with you. I don't really know what Ewar is going to look like. I mean, it was a couple years ago that we saw not only scanning, like advanced scanning, but we saw things like signature masking, and other things like that. And we haven't seen that in game yet. So I don't know. I feel like CIG's rethinking it. So we'll have to see where that ends up. Max Skinny says, Starjump Graham, have spoken on the RSI Meteor yet? Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. RSI Meteor definitely is a variant of the Mantis. Here is the Mantis interior. Or sorry, no, this is the Mantis interior. And then this is the interior to the Meteor. Has all the same attributes to it. Component bay down here. It has the elevator here, the entry elevator. Components on the left side. Bed over here. Restroom most likely back here. Some sort of something back here. Looking at the layout, remember this is just the canopy, and this is essentially the Mantis canopy. But it has currently in the game files is just this, and then this interior hull section here. We don't know what the exterior is yet. We may be able to look around the mesh sometime soon. But up in this front area here, I'm assuming we're going to have the usual stuff, kitchen, stuff like that. So we don't know what it looks like yet, but we are pretty certain that it is a Mantis variant based off this interior image here. This is interior geometry of the Meteor. So Mantis variant. I read somewhere that it's going to be like a 3-person ship. I don't put much stock into that. It seems like a 1-person ship to me. It seems like a starter plus. I think the Meteor is going to sit in between the Aurora and the Zeus. It's going to sit in between those two ships. Think of it like a starter plus for RSI. Yeah. Let's see here. Max Skinny says, Starjump Graham, even with the variant, will players really fly it? You mean will it be flight ready? It's supposed to be flight ready in 4.2.1, if that's what you're asking. Sorry. I don't think this is big, by the way. I look at this as being pretty small. I think it's going to be exactly Mantis size, maybe give or take a meter or two. Give or take a meter or two. It's going to be about Mantis size. So if I go, let's go back here. It's going to be in that, probably going to be in that 30 meter range. So around here. Again, I've never really loved the Mantis. The Mantis is a ship we need to redo for Fleet Viewer, by the way, at some point. Maybe when we do the Meteor for Fleet Viewer, we can do the Mantis as well. But or did we do the Mantis? I thought we redid the Mantis. Or is this the redone one? Maybe this is the redone one. I can't remember. Either way, it's just a ship that, I don't know. There's something about the Mantis that I don't love. It'll be interesting to see what CIG does with the interior, though. I just don't know what role it's playing. To me, it's funny because, again, the Mantis sort of represents a little bit of an older RSI style to me, and I thought they were pushing further ahead with more the Zeus style. So whatever the Meteor is probably is not going to appeal much to me, to be totally honest with you. So yeah, real quick here. So everyone, do not forget, let me post this again here. Do not forget, we have our RSI Perseus giveaway that is going on right now. You can go to this link, register with your email, and then you can enter to win. There's several different ways to enter to win. Some of those are like follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube, stuff like that. If you already have, all you need to do is click on the link for those. You don't have to unfollow me and follow me and all that. Just click on the link. It'll verify you're already a follower and it will register for you. Okay. So make sure you get in on that. It's going to be cool to give this ship away. The giveaway ends on the 29th of July. So you got some time for this one. It's going to be really great, though, to give away another big ship. It's been a while. That being said, it's been fun talking about variants here. We may get a more intact model of the Meteor tomorrow. Don't know. Some of the smarter people are digging around for that stuff. So if we do, we'll definitely talk more about it this weekend. Hopefully everyone had a good time talking about it tonight, though. I had a lot of fun. Let's see here. We need to raid somebody. I think I have a good idea of who we're going to raid. I'm going to send you over to... we're going to send you over to someone that is going to be with me at Quantum Vegas 2955. Don't forget to go to Quantum Vegas's website. Buy your tickets to go if you can. I'm going to be there. CIG people are going to be there. Sandy Roberts is going to be there. Sean Tracy. It's going to be really, really cool. So, one second. I apparently can't find this. Oh, I put it in wrong. Okay, that's good. So we are going to raid the Astro Pub tonight. I can send you over to Paul Shelley. Looks like he's doing a roadmap update breakdown. I'm going to send you over his way. Make sure you give him some Starjump love and all that good stuff. Everyone, it's been a lot of fun chatting tonight. I'm going to get some sleep. You all have a great weekend. You'll probably see me this weekend talking more about the RSI Meteor. Still a lot to talk about on that ship. Everyone, have a great, wonderful night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Do a kind thing for a stranger, by the way. Don't forget that. Get in on that Perseus giveaway, all that good stuff. All right, I'm just readying the raid. Everyone, hang on. Give Paul a little bit of that love. I get to meet Paul in person, by the way. I'm pretty excited to do that. Meet him at Quantum. So, all right. Say hi to him for me. Good night, everyone. Thanks for hanging out for a little bit and talking variants.